What's up guys, it's Roger, and today we are going to be using some Guardian Game weapons with our Guardian Games drip to go ahead and tear it up inside of Trials of Osiris. This weekend we have Rusted Lands, which was a community vote, but of course, Bungie gave us what's kind of like a mirror reflection of US politicians nowadays. Basically you don't vote for the candidate that you think is best, you just vote for which one is not the worst. And that's what happened when they gave us the vote of these 3 maps for Trials this weekend, and luckily the community voted for the one that I think is probably the least worst. I actually like Convergence a lot, I voted for that one, but everyone else kind of hates it. So we ended up with Rusted Lands, and I wanted to try out these new Guardian Gang weapons a little bit, and I decided this would be a great time to do it. Now, first of all, it's a good thing we got a new scout rifle right here with a lightweight frame called the Teraxipus. This thing is pretty darn good, and this is the solid roll that I have right here. I think this might be the static roll that everyone gets, the curated roll, but either way, I'll show you what I got here. Polygonal rifling, accurized rounds, Zen Moment, which of course was buffed a little while ago, is feeling really solid, and then kill clip here. Now, you can use explosive payload if you want to. I think explosive payload is very solid, especially since there's not going to be any range fall off when you have explosive payload bullets, right? As well as the fact that explosive payload bullets do flinch your enemies more, so if they're sniping, this can be good for smacking them from a range. However, I like to get kill clips so that I can go on some sprees, but if you're a player who doesn't like kill perks, then I would say go for the explosive payload there in that slot. I did keep on Classy Contender over Amalon Fluid Dynamics. I actually do like the reload speed here, but I think Classy Contender is a little bit better. You get 5% of your class ability back every time you get a final blow with your weapon, which is pretty good, and of course we have that buff on both of our weapons, so that helps a lot. Finish that off with a Stability Masterwork and a Counterbalance Stock to get our recoil direction as close to vertical as we can, and this thing feels pretty solid. Now, second up here, we have the Tidal SMG. Now, every other year this gun has come out, it's been just decent, right? It's just a fine SMG. However, we have a bit of a problem with SMGs in the game right now, which is the fact that they're really strong. They have way too much range, and they can map you like crazy. So that kind of started with something like Teraba, which was really strong. And then that got power crept by the Immortal. And then they said, instead of nerfing Immortal, why don't we power creep it even more with the Tidal? It's a big mistake, I don't know why they keep doing that, but hey, at least it's getting people off of Immortal. In my opinion, Immortal is still a better SMG, primarily because it has the perk of Target Lock, which still hasn't been nerfed yet, and is an extremely overpowered perk, and that can give, even though the Tidal has one more zoom than the Immortal, which is why people are thinking that the Tidal is a good contender, which it is, Target Lock kind of ignores the fact that this one has one more zoom because it ramps up the damage, which makes it have basically farther range in actuality. So it does compete pretty well, and you can smack Immortals with this. You can see here I'm using this static roll. I think, again, this is the curated one that you'll get for free after just finishing the quest. So get online, make sure you do this while Guardian Games is still active, because this has perpetual motion and rangefinder, which makes this thing absolutely solid. I love it quite a bit. Since it is a void weapon, I'll show you a combo we're going to be using with this, which comes right here from our artifact we have on Volatile Flow. So whenever we pick up an Orb of Power, we do get our void weapons getting volatile rounds. Of course, the title is a void weapon, so keep in mind we will have volatile rounds whenever we pick up an Orb of Power, and I'll point that out whenever it happens. Now, how are we going to be generating those orbs of power? Well, that's a very good question. Glad you asked it. You're a smart person. We have 3 ways to generate those orbs of power. First of all, we have firepower. So every time we get a grenade final blow, we get an orb of power. If we get an empowered melee final blow with heavy-handed, we get an orb of power. And last but not least, we have on the Reaper mod. So every time we get a final blow, after we use our class ability, which is our Rift in this case, then we will spawn an orb of power. Of course, if you get an orb of power, we're going to get those volatile flow rounds. We get a little bit of super energy, but I also have on these 3 mods right here: Orbs of Restoration, Insulation, and Absolution. So that's going to get us some ability energy back to our ability that has the least amount of energy. And then Insulation is going to reduce the class ability cooldown each time you pick an Orb of Power. And then Absolution is going to reduce all ability cooldowns each time you pick an Orb of Power. And then I have on Bomber mods, which reduces grenade cooldown when using your class ability. So I like to use these mods that give us our, abilities back just as fast as possible. You'll see there's some rounds where I get like my nades and my class ability back within like 20 seconds or less sometimes, and that's what I love so much. Let's finish off by talking about our Void 3.0 right here. I'm going to be using the Vortex Nova Bomb, Healing Rift. I have on Blink, of course, because I'm not some little floaty freak. We have on Pocket Singularity here, Axion Bolts to track our enemies around these long lanes as quickly as we can. We can use these to push, and I'll talk about those once we get into the gameplay. Here I have on Feed the Void, so we can proc our Devour and slay our enemies out. And then we have on Child of the Old Gods, or as we call them on my channel, Clarence. Those are both going to give you 2 fragment slots. As for those fragments, we have on Echo of Dilation. This says while crouched, you sneak faster and gain enhanced radar resolution. That helps us pick apart our radar exactly where our enemies are, so we know when we can aggress upon them. Next we have Echo of Persistence, so our Devour is going to go from 10 seconds to 15 seconds. After that we have Echo of Expulsion, so if we get a kill with our nade or a Pocket Singularity, the enemy will explode a secondary time, which can be very good for enemies that group up on top of each other. Finishing it off, we have Echo of Vigilance, so whenever we defeat somebody, when our shields are broken, we get a full Void Overshield, which can save our cheeks a lot, on top of the fact that it can help us go aggressive a lot after we get that first pick. That is everything covered. If you do have any questions, feel free to leave those in the comment section down below, or join the Blinkville Discord server. I'm going to have that linked in the top right and in the description. I'd love to see you in there, whether you're a Blink Warlock, Blink Hunter, or someone who just enjoys Destiny. It's fine, just come on in, I'd love to see you in there. All that being said, I think we are ready to get in this gameplay, so let me go ahead and blink on into it. Now, when it comes to this weekend, the biggest thing that I noticed being successful is the long ranges. When it comes to your scouts, your sniper rifles, your pulse rifles, things like that. There are many times that you're going to get into these close range engagements. If you're going to do that, make sure you're using an SMG and not a shotgun, because you won't get too many chances to actually use the shotty. Now, where I'm going right now is a place that I really started to like going. This is a great flank. You can come around the side of the map, and although this round it didn't work exactly like it's going to in the future where I'll show you, it still was a good round where I was able to go in with the SMG and finish these guys off very easily. The thing with this flank is if you use your teammates, especially if you're on a 3-stack and you're actually coordinated, your teammates can distract them towards the other side of the map. You come around to their right here and start smacking them up with your scout rifle. If you're using it like I am, then you're going to have kill clip proc, you can just keep smacking them, throw in an axiom bolt, things like that, get your clearance in there, and you can destroy the enemies. Had to show you that round to show you this title is pretty dang good. The opposite of what my teammates are, because they are pretty dang bad, and he actually threw that round, even though he had an Osteostriga on. If you can't hit your shots with an Osteostriga, then I don't know what you're doing. You might not have any eyeballs inside of your dang little head. Now, this is also a place you can come. If you do want to challenge directly ahead towards that upper doorway, towards the water barrel, you can do those things. People will sit there a lot with their snipes and whatnot. You need to be careful of those snipers especially. You have fine flinch on a scout rifle like this. The thing is, it's a lightweight frame, it's not doing crazy impact damage compared to some other scouts, so it's not going to flinch them that much. That being said, that's why I said earlier, if you do want to go for explosive payload, that can be a really good choice, because that can flinch the heck out of your enemies, right? You can do things like this, though, where you can take them out with your range first. Clarence did really good that round. He killed 2 people, give me my Devour proc, makes me more confident to go on the last guy. If you want to do it like this is what I'm saying. That challenge worked out for me, right? I get my Echo Vigilance proc, now I have a Void Overshield. If you do want to put your Rift down, do it like I did right there. Go to the edge of the water barrel, get behind the middle portion because it actually is raised up a little bit. So when you put your Rift down, you will be fully covered to actually put that Rift down. If you start to place your Rift on the sides of that water barrel, you probably will get shot in the head, because it will show your hitbox a little bit, so be very careful about that. Make sure your hitbox is fully covered before you go trying to place your Rift down on top of that water barrel. And if you're not a stellar player, I would say do not challenge on water barrel very often. Don't challenge the doorway over there on the right side of the map very often. If you do that, you might get smacked a good bit. Nobody likes that. When you were a little kid, you cursed a few too many times, your mom and daddy spanked your butthole. You don't want the enemies to start doing that to you now, do you? I don't think so. So what you want to do is find the good flanks to get around the sides of your enemies and take them out. This round I wanted to point out to you guys for one good reason. This Titan was a big, dumb idiot. He said, I'm going to crutch this cap point. And this is something I tell you guys every weekend when there's cap points. Now, this is not a cap point weekend, I want to point that out. But the cap point spawned there because it went to time. Do not over-rely on cap points, especially if you're the only one standing on that. We need to remember that cap points take longer to cap when you're the only one standing on it. So if you're sitting there on the fucking teacup Disney ride, thinking you're going to spin around and win the round by just sitting in a circle, that's not quite going to go well for you when I show up and smack you with my title. That right there was a good round. I wanted to point it out for you what I did there. I threw my Axiom Bolt to the side of that guy. He thought he was making a new best friend when it was flying up next to his cheeks, but in fact what was happening is I was flying over his head and crashing him down like the fucking Hindenburg. Now, if you don't want to go down like a huge helium balloon out of the sky, then what you need to do is watch your radar. Keep yourself actually in the match. Make sure you're watching where your enemies are coming from. When it comes to a map like Rusted Lands, we gotta remember, it's very open. There's a lot of different spaces people can come from, and the reason maps like this are not usually trials maps is because there's a lot of space on them. Bungie likes the maps that are a little more closed off for the most part, that work better with the 3s. This map honestly doesn't work that bad with 3s. The thing is, there's just a lot of map. So, you need to keep your eyes on your radar. That's why we like the dilation radar, so we can crouch and pick apart where our enemies are. You can see here I throw an Axiom Bolt to the right side. That guy starts pushing, teammates do really well to counter with their own super to take out that Winter's Wrath. I'm just holding down here, placing a clearance, and as soon as I look at my Rift there, right? What am I doing when I place my Rift? I'm doing two things when I place my Rift. First of all, I'm 3-peeking so I can look around the walls with my rift. Second of all, I'm staring at my radar the entire time I'm placing my rift, so that right when I come out of it, I know where my enemies are going to be. That allowed me to smack the first guy. Since I placed my rift, I got my Reaper procced, which let me kill him and get an Orb of Power, which got me my super, which then cascaded into me winning the round. That's why we want these mods on that let us get as many orbs as possible. Then we can chain that into more ability energy, into more supers. We can give those to our teammates. We get volatile flow, so we get volatile rounds on our title. You get all these things cascading together to really make you an unstoppable force in the Crucible. Now you see here, you need to be very careful of this area of the map. Most people call this heavy tunnel, you can just call it tunnel. Anything like that is pretty simple. I guess you could call it hallway as well, but you see here, I almost died. I was able to obfuscate my hitbox with a blink, get out of their line of sight and survive. But that tunnel is basically a death trap. If you were a mouse and heavy is spawning there, that's basically your brick of cheese. They're gonna lure you in there, and they're gonna smack your butthole if you're not careful. You get stuck in there really, really easily. You can see that round though. 2 orbs of power off that last guy dead. Beautiful stuff. Now that being said, like I'm saying here, watch this. With that hallway there, it's very dangerous. So if you're going in there, be very careful. I would suggest you probably never to push it. Now you can see here, this is what I was talking about earlier. This flank is beautiful. 4 shots to the head is going to take that guy out. Now I have kill clip procced. 68 to the head on that second guy because I have kill clip procced. I'm looking at this guy in here. I want to throw my abilities out, so I throw out my pocket singularity, throw out the Axiom Bolt. That's chasing him now. He has 2 choices. Stop and shoot the Axiom Bolt. If he tries to shoot the Axiom Bolt, then I shoot him or my teammates shoot him. If he doesn't shoot the Axiom Bolt, he runs into the enemies. Maybe he kills one of my teammates, but then the Axiom Bolt hits him and he dies because he was low enough. So that's what you're doing with your Axiom Bolts. Use them as sort of another teammate that you can pinch your enemies with and take them out. Now you can see here again, Heat Rises is going to be something you're going to see a lot this weekend. We take out the first guy, we get our kill clip procced. I smack at the second guy with 3 shots to the head once we have our kill clip procced. Once you do have kill clip procced, you do 3 tap to the head, just like we did on that guy. When you don't have kill clip procced, you're going to be 4 tapping to the head. That's why I recommend you use the kill clip, because if you can cascade it like I did in that round right there, you can easily 1v3 the enemies, as well as the fact that I took a nice flank to get on the side of the map right there to go on around my enemies and take them out with my scout rifle. If I see the opportunity to go in with my SMG, I do, but that is completely secondary on this map. You need to be very methodical and slow with your play on this map. Use your range. I do not recommend using anything like a 140 hand cannon. You want to be in the ranges of at least a scout rifle, a 120 hand cannon, or farther than that. If you do that, you will be very successful. You need to play that range. Stay as far back as you can, and then find situations like this where you can go in. I knew that guy was weakened by clearance. He was slowed by clearance. He was super slowed and just low health. So I flew in, took him out with a pocket singularity, boom, there's 1 orb of power. I killed that first guy earlier, so there was another orb of power there, so I picked that up. I spanked the last guy with my SMG now that I was confident, and had Devour off of him dying for my pocket singularity. You need to look for situations like that where you can go in, but you need to be very careful of when you actually do. Find situations like this, where again, I'm using my range, I'm throwing in my nade, look at this Axion, boom, there's the kill. Also, let's keep in mind, an orb of power. My teammate goes in, he gets smacked, but I knew they were a little weak, so I fly in with my SMG here. We smack the first guy, there's a second orb of power this round that I have generated myself. Pick both of those up before the end of the round is over. Let's keep that in mind, my boys. If the round ends and you spawn orbs of power, don't just go blinking away, don't go run across the map or get distracted by your teammates. Don't start bagging the enemy. You don't want to be a toxic Timmy. You want to pick up those orbs of power so you can get your abilities back, so you can get your supers up, so you can win the match. Now, you can see here, these guys are facing off with me. I'm facing off with them pretty well. I wanted to res my teammate. Now, unfortunately, I did get him smacked like a Tallahassee Tommy, and I felt a little bad about that, but at the same time, I tried. There was not much I could do there. I couldn't really push him out of the way too much. All I could do was put down cover fire and hope he lived. I want to show you that right there. You see how I blinked right there and I didn't really go anywhere? That is called a blink. Oh, let's keep in mind, watch this clip, as I do have volatile rounds since I picked up an orb of power from that first guy that I killed. Now, as I was saying before, I hit a blink around that area. There are a good amount of blinks on this map. What a blink is essentially some areas of the map have these invisible roofs right above your head. And when you blink in those areas, you get no vertical distance. It just slams you right back into the ground. Now, it doesn't slam you into the ground hard enough that you take damage, but you don't get any vertical height, so it's obviously going to get you killed a lot of the time. So be careful of those spots. Where I'm standing right now is a very bad one. You can get very smacked up there, so be very, very careful. Don't know why I'm just spamming the word very so much, but I guess it's because it's a very good descriptor. Now you can see here, you can take that blink if you would like to throw in your Axiom Bolt and then keep pushing forward. You can go up and play to the left where I blinked up there first. It is a very good place that you can play, but be careful because there are some places your enemies can sit and smack you out of there very easily, as you'll see in some of my gameplay clips as well. So you need to be very careful around this part of the map because there's a lot of lines of sight here that you don't really keep in mind all the time. Even places like right above me right now, there are a couple of windows up there. People can use their Warlock floats, their Titan floats, their Hunter jumps, and go into those windows. To my top right there, that's what I'm talking about, those windows. This clip's a little laggy, so apologies for that. But it's a little hard to blink into those windows. You can blink into those windows. However, the lip of the window is very, very small and narrow. So to actually land in them is just very difficult. But be careful because other people can float and jump into those windowsills much easier than you can blink into them. So they can smack you from there, so just keep that in mind. Now, if heavy is spawning, you do need to actually go and fight towards it, or else the enemy is just going to obviously pick it up for free, and that's not something we want to see. So, contest your enemies. This is one of the only heavy ammo plays I have for you guys, and right off the first sword swing, you can see there why you need to be careful if you use swords. Blink and Eager Edge, obviously right there, looks really cool. It can be very successful, but Bungie doesn't know how to code a game correctly, so the sword swings don't work a lot of the time. Why may that be? Well, because they're kind of tied to frame rate. So if you have good frame rate, then sometimes the sword swings just don't connect. There's a few other things in the game that works like that. It's very frustrating, it's extremely stupid, but then again, what in Destiny 2 isn't just a little bit absolutely mind-bogglingly stupid? I'm gonna tell you, it's not many things, my friends. Now you can see here I'm doing my classic strategy like I showed you earlier of getting a flank over to the right side of the map. This is a beautiful place to play. Look at our radar right now. We can see there are a few a little closer to us than I would like, but again, they don't pay attention to their radars, so I got some free damage there. The next guy flies up. Again, he's not looking at his radar well enough. Now I have kill clip procced. Looking for someone I can use this kill clip on, and unfortunately this guy's going to hide behind this pipe right here. My teammates start getting aggressive, so what do? Well, I have one of two choices. I can either sit back like I did, get good damage from my teammates and let them clean it up, or I can go in with them. Now, most of the time, I would suggest you sit back and try to get some chip damage on the enemies and take them out from a range while your teammates push. However, if you're confident, especially with people that you're actually queued with, then you can push up, especially with a good SMG such as the Title, and be very successful. Now you can see here, why did I get aggressive? Well, I just hit both of them with clearance, and they both got hit by an Axiom Bolt. So obviously I'm going to fly in like that and ruin their lives. I gotta say, Perpetual Motion and Rangefinder is the perfect god roll for me on SMGs. I have it on my god roll funnel web, and just having it on something like the Title is absolutely insane. The fact that it has so much zoom, so much range, and then it has perpetual motion, so the stability is beautiful. This thing, it doesn't get flinched, my friends. It does not get flinched. I haven't yet to be shot while I'm holding the Title and be like, oops, I got flinched out of that. No, it doesn't happen. It just doesn't take any flinch, which is nice, but sometimes, even though I like using it, I'm like, why does this exist? Honestly, the Title is kind of at the same place as the Immortal, where I probably won't use it just because it's a little scummy to me. I don't like meta abusing, and this gun is on the level of the Immortal where it's like, okay, this is basically meta abuse. It's strong to the point to where it's not very fair if you're fighting someone who doesn't have this gun. If I walk up to someone who's using a funnel web, even a god roll like I'm talking about, I'm gonna win unless I miss some of my shots. So if we're both players hitting our optimal TTKs and hitting our shots, I'm going to win. And that's just, it's kind of scummy. And I don't think I've said this before, it's not stupid to use guns like this, it's smart because they're so good. But at the same time, Bungie shouldn't be making guns like this because it's made for toxicity, right? It's made for the player base to abuse. And a lot of the sentiment I hear from this community a lot is always this classic phrase of, if you can't beat them, then join them. And that's why this game gets so crusty all the time, because so many people have that terrible philosophy in this game, and they think, well, I can't beat the Immortal, so I might as well put it on. No. The only reason that we have to be like stuck in a mortal spam city is because everybody uses that philosophy. So if we just stop doing that, then we won't have to deal with that. Imagine that. Actual integrity goes a long way. You can do a strategy like this at the beginning of a round and get a nice pick. If your teammates aren't, having cinder blocks in their head, unlike mine, it can be nice, but it's okay. I clutch up in this last clip that I have for you guys here and win the round for my teammates. So while you watch that, I am just going to say thank you so much for watching. If you do want to leave me a like or subscribe, I'd very much appreciate that. I'm going to have a Hunter build coming out later tomorrow, So if you're interested in that, make sure you are subscribed. I really appreciate you guys, and that is going to be it for me today. So as I let this play out for you guys, I just want you to know that I really do appreciate you. And that is it for me today. So as always, have a great day, Guardians.